WOWT6. This is Heartland Focus.
Good morning, and welcome to Heartland Focus. I'm your host, Tim Clark. Today we're going to spend some time really reflecting and talking about, what we wake up to believe our freedoms and liberties every single day. But I'm here to tell you this morning that somebody's out there making sure that happens every single day, because we have a threat that I believe, and you'll learn more about, 24/7. And I tell you one thing, I must say gratitude and appreciation that somebody is not sleeping, that's watching and really guarding for those threats every single day. So my guest is retired Command Sergeant Major Patrick Austin. Welcome to Heartland Focus, my man.
Hey, it's definitely an honor and privilege to be here. And, let me take a moment to first of all thank you so very much for honoring America's sons and daughters that don that uniform, the nation's cloth, and say they will stand in the gap to allow you to enjoy those freedoms you allow each and every day to take upon. And also, I want to thank Nebraska for what they're doing. Today is a monumental day.
Yes, it is.
Because we're bringing back one of our fallen comrades. Dagan is a true Marine, Dagan Page Corporal. And he has lived a life that's dedicated to being his brother and his sister's keeper. Yeah. As we look at this, we look at that there's roughly 331 million Americans in the continental United States at any given time. And if we really want to dig in that number, we'll know that it's 331,449,281 of them. But only 1% would ever don the uniform. 1% will stand on their shoulders each and every day to ensure that freedom reigns in the greatest country in the free world. Tim, if I did some public math, and I probably would mess this up, but that tells me that only about 3 million, roughly 3 million people will don that uniform. Out of that 331 million, 3 million. To be more precise, it's more like 3,314,000, right? 492.
Yeah.
And so it's
That's
really
some serious math.
Very narrow margin of individuals that stand in the gap to give you those freedoms that you spoke about earlier.
That's right. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for, I understand, 30 plus years of service in the military, and your specialty in the service, your branch is U.S. Army, right?
The only branch.
No, okay. I want to make sure I got that right.
You got it right.
The only branch. But man, I tell you, talk a little bit before we jump into really, what we're protecting and what we're honoring. So in terms of the service of our men and women in military. Really, when you reflect of 35 years of service to this country, what comes to mind in terms of what's some of the highlights of your military experience?
Well, I would tell you the first thing I do is I narrow that large number down. We spoke about it earlier, and I reach in and I get my most sacred loved ones. And I understand that in order for my most sacred loved ones to enjoy the things they enjoy, simple things, my mom going to Popeyes, my dad eating at Pizza Hut. For them to enjoy those simple things, somebody's got to be standing to watch. Yeah. And so for 35 years, I was honored to stand to watch so they could have the choices and enjoy the freedoms they had each and every day. Yeah. The more you travel around this great world of ours, and the more you embark on small, I would say dictatorship type of countries, you begin to really appreciate what we have here in America. You appreciate the freedoms of driving and going and coming. But somebody's standing to watch for you to appreciate that.
Now, when you think about your 35 years, so our audience can have an opportunity to really jump into a day-to-day kind of like, what was some of your experiences, and what was some of your takeaways and highlights, things that you were responsible for that you can make public? I know
Well, so I ended my 35 years here at United States Strategic Command, one of 11 combatant commands. And anybody will tell you one of the most powerful combatant commands in the free world. Yes. To really understand what a combatant command does, a combatant command is the format in which we fight. We don't fight with services. Service responsibilities is to organize, train, and equip young American sons and daughters, and then feed them to the combatant commands, and then the combatant commands fights the wars. Well, this particular combatant command here is, without a doubt, the most strategic and powerful combatant command in the free world. Why? Because it has the nuclear arsenal here.
Right here in Nebraska.
In Omaha, Nebraska, Offutt Air Force Base.
Wow.
Since a 4-star general, or admiral at this time, that oversee all 3 legs in a nuclear enterprise and ensure that we are prepared to engage in a moment's notice for the freedom of the American people.
Wow. I mean, and this being from Omaha and being a Nebraskan, I mean, you're just laying some heavy stuff. I mean, that's pretty heavy in terms of just a responsibility that really happens right here in Middle America.
Right here in Middle America.
Wow. And so when you think about your time in the military, let's look at young men or women that may be viewing this show. Why should they even entertain becoming a part of that 3 million or so?
Yeah, I will tell you, really, I can answer that in 2 phases. Not only should you join because of the honor you have for your nation, but you should also join for the foundation that is provided for you. Discipline, focus.
Yeah.
You would never get anything like that in any other institution in the free world. What the military do for you, the military shapes you and give you the necessary tools to not only be a great soldier, sailor, air, marine, or guardian, but to be a great citizen. You can take that baseline development and go out and be the best citizen America has to offer.
So I think that's starting to come together, because a friend of mine, his grandson was just, not doing what he's supposed to do as a young man. And his mom kept, I hate they use it as a threat, but he's like, boy, I'm going to send you to the military.
Yes.
And so I think, I hopefully not as a punishment.
Right.
But I think, to your point, is to shape, mold into a man, almost like a rites of passage.
Yes, it's a developmental tool that I think America doesn't use enough. We talk about the issues and concerns we have with this young generation, and that we don't understand them, and that a lot of people say they are kind of off of the reservation. But I would tell you, if you really wanted to mold America's sons and daughters and shape America's sons and daughters and focus America's sons and daughters, there's no better institution than the United States military.
I tell you, I wasn't fortunate to have served, but I understand some of those disciplines. And I would have to agree with you. I think that's what we need in terms of, especially when you talk about young people and trying to move and give a direction of hope and structure.
Right.
Structure, when you think about military, for the most part, structure is such a fundamental piece of it.
Yes, yes.
And when you think about what's happening with the work you do here in Nebraska with the Johnny Rogers Jet Awards, and we're working with Blackburn, intervening with young people that's been involved, that's justice involved with justice system. One fundamental thing, that really threads through that is lack of
structure.
Wow.
And that's what we are able to provide. The military is an institution that believes in black and white.
Yeah.
The military is an institution that's going to teach you what it is to do the right thing and understand the consequences if you do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So the thing that the military does that a lot of institutions doesn't do, it allows you to think consequences before decision. And therefore, you would make a decision in lieu of understanding the consequences if you make the wrong decision.
Man, you better teach.
And it gives you that focus.
Wow. Wow. Thinking consequences
before decision.
Before decisions, man. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk about some things that maybe you can share, but I think we have kind of fallen asleep to some degree as American, and with not saying everyone, but I think the appreciation for what military provide for this country, and we talked a little bit about that, but maybe let's remind them of somebody that's up 24/7
Right.
trying to chase us. Okay, and just give me a few of them. Okay,
Okay,
Think
we
about
can
a
do
few of
that.
them. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, my guests, we're going to talk about some of those threats that you may not know about, but somebody is up 24/7 trying to make sure they don't reach our shores. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. I want to welcome back folks on Heartland Focus. My guest, retired Command Sergeant Major. I love saying it. It has a nice ring, Command Sergeant Major. Command Sergeant Major Patrick Austin.
All right.
Remind me of just that military. I love military movies because you're just that discipline, and you got people yelling at you and screaming at. Man, was you a drill sergeant at
Yes.
one point? You look like you
Yes. Yes.
put the fear of God in somebody.
I would tell you that, drill sergeant is a occupation that takes a very wise person to be able to be successful, because you have to understand the clientele in which you are about to mold, mentor, coach, teach, and train, and you cannot treat all of them the same.
That's right.
So therefore, you must be able to understand what is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
It can't always be yelling, cursing, and fussing.
Because you can break someone totally.
There you go. Sometimes you got to be able to break them, but you got to be able to break them with some psychology there a little
That's
bit.
right.
So I served as drill sergeant. It was one of the most challenging experiences in my life.
Yeah, because I think you pointed out very well in terms of that balance.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you take someone's soul and you break their heart and self-esteem, you have a pretty weak soldier.
Yeah, you have a hard time building them back up. So
It's
the
hard,
ideal is to break them to a point where you can then build them back up. Because remember, as I told you before, only 1% ever serve.
That's right.
And so if I do anything to harm that 3 million plus that I have an opportunity to integrate into being up and having
That's
that
right.
watch at night,
That's right.
and, I could put the nation in harm's way. And so I've got to be able to break and build and establish a mindset for them to move out and do the nation's work.
So when we think of some of the threats, and I know we got to keep it high level, but I want to just remind our viewers that this is real.
Yes.
This is real.
Yes.
I had a chance to tour the lower parts of Offutt and really understand the depth of every single day what you guys get up and do, but share what you can.
Well, I would tell you that if people really remember 9/11, and the shock that 9/11 sent to the core of our nation. The ability for us to be facing an adversary on our own homeland. See, we are a way fighting machine. We are so used to fighting. If you look at every war, from World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korean War, we're always in their playground.
That's right.
For the first time, somebody came to our playground. And we need the American people to understand that in today's generation, in today's time frame, in today's society, fighting an away war is not always going to happen, because of technology allowed them to disrupt and build weapons of mass destruction with cyberspace here in the homeland. And so they have to be mindful that adversaries are smart like we're smart. And they're going to penetrate us in ways in which, like I said, it causes disruption to the ability for us to enjoy the freedoms and live the life we live. The threats are there. The threats are there. The threats are real. At no time should we ever let our guard down and forget that there is somebody who's willing to give their life for their higher guard to disrupt and destroy us.
And so often we just think of the bigger threats, the Soviet Union or North Korea, because North Korea was so much in the news and, under the Trump administration. But even before then, they've always been in the news. And China, and those are the big fish. But there's a whole lot of little fish agitating.
Yes. So, So we do have a marquee to look at what we call really the big five, I guess. I can sum that up for you. And that's the China, and that's the Russia, and then North Korea, Iran, and other extremist organizations. So people have been focused on what they call the big fish. But really, if you look at it, the small fish that we're facing today is really showing its ugly head if we look at what happened in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. Small insurgents can cause just as many headaches as a large organization. And so domestic violence can really put us back as we're focusing forward
Right.
and not looking at the homeland. So the threats are there. And American people need to be mindful that, but they also need to be reminded that we've got those young American sons and daughters standing in the gap, on point, on watch, ready to insert themselves at a necessary time so that Tim Clark can enjoy the freedoms he enjoys each and every day.
And are you starting to, I mean, I think you said it, that we're starting to see a different type of threat. It seems to me is becoming more internal when you think about, what happened in Washington and, terrorism and those kind of things, that it's just, man, that's why I put my heart and my, just honor what you guys do, because it's so vast.
Yes.
And the depth of all the different things that's coming at us, just with domestic stuff now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say it, but I hate to almost have an election in 3 years from now. I don't want to get political on you, but I'm just saying, it's just, isn't that crazy when you have some hesitancy in terms of just because we don't know what's going to happen, and then you got the external threats looking and saying, we're going to do anything and everything to disrupt and to magnify what's happening in terms of our country. So I just, man, I think just when I think about the complexity of threats and things that our military have to deal with every day, I just, my hat goes off, man.
But I would tell you,
guys, that's unbelievable what you guys do, and for that, thank you, and all the men and women that's been serving this country so well. Right.
When they raise their hand and they say those 79 words for their oath, they understand the undertaking in which they're about to embark on. And they understand that it's about the Constitution and defending the Constitution. And they understand that someone's going to give some and someone's going to give all. But at the end of the day, their marquee is, it's all about democracy and freedom.
Democracy
in the greatest
and freedom.
Nation in the free world.
And I think sometimes, Patrick, we forget in terms of how fragile our democracy is, and that what we must stand up every day and fight for, because going the other way and taking that away, it's just it's not an option.
That's what I was going to say. It is not
an option. It
is not an option.
Well, when you think about, if we fast forward in terms of just looking into our future, what's the hope? I mean, what I mean, when you think about, we talk to some gloom and doom, but what the get up? What's the hope then that we should be aspiring towards as a people, as a country?
Right. I would tell you, our hope is that we're able to sustain an all-volunteer force. We're able to still bring in American sons and daughters that understand that they are standing in the gap for the freedoms of this nation, democracy to reign, and they're not shying away from it. People are always saying this generation, but I would tell you that we have labeled the greatest generation of all time the generation of World War II. But this is the great-great-grandkids of the greatest generation, and one day they will surpass them and be the greatest generation.
Wow.
These kids are still coming in. 20 years of continuous combat, still coming in. Volunteering, facing just the most devastating times, still coming in. Not understanding what tomorrow looks like, still coming in. So the American people can be rest assured that we have the right people in the right place at the right time to allow freedom to continue to reign. There is not going to be a hesitation with your freedom, because there's some young American sons and daughters that's saying, I won't let that happen, because it's not an option.
Wow, that's the hope. We're going to take a break on that, man. That's very powerful. Then we're going to, when we come back, let's talk about the soldier that's coming home and talk about and give him some honor.
There you go.
Hey, we'll be right back. We're going to take a short break for the cause. Be right back.
His name is Deacon.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back, my guest, retired Command Sergeant Major Patrick Austin. Man, thank you so much for taking the time. I tell you, most definitely you're welcome back. Most definitely going to have you come back and and really be a regular, be a contributor to Heartland Focus.
I look forward to
You
it.
can put that on your resume now.
look forward to
Contributor to Heartland Focus with
look
host
forward
Tim
to it.
Clark. But man, so let's talk about, we have a Marine that's coming back to Nebraska that had really committed, and sacrificed the ultimate life, man. Yeah. Talk about this Marine and really what this means.
Well, I would tell you that Corporal Deacon Page gave his all. He truly understood what it was to stand in the gap. He knew that when he took his oath that he may be called to give a little or he may be called to give the ultimate sacrifice. Well, he gave the ultimate sacrifice. He was truly an example of his brother and sister's keepers. Wow. These young American sons and daughters today understand one thing and one thing only, that they're there to be in the gap for people they never met before. They're there to lead the charge to ensure that whatever is required is met 100% and delivered on point, on time. And that's what Corporal Page did for us. On behalf of the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Berger, and the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major Black, and a grateful nation, we want to send our condolences out to his lovely family. I don't know if you know, but General Kelly was here, John Kelly, who was a former Chief of Staff of the White House, who was a Marine, lost his son in Afghanistan also. But he had an opportunity to go visit the family, and he had an opportunity to spend time with Corporal's mother, to talk to Miss Wendy, to talk to Craig, to talk to his father Greg and his stepmother Gina, and actually spend time letting them know how grateful we are as a nation, the sacrifice that their loved one made for us to be able to continue doing what we do each and every day. And I just want to make sure that we never forget that these young kids are there doing God and country's work every day. Foreign lands, homeland, it doesn't matter. They're never complaining. And this is a good example of a Marine that said, I understand, and I'm moving out. So to Corporal Page and his entire family, we give just a true sense of our gratitude for all they do. And we want to make sure that he understands that there is a final salute for him.
Man, that's awesome. That is awesome. And I tell you, it reminds us that there is sacrifice in these freedoms and liberties, and that's why I encourage on this show that we don't politicize that. So often the politics that comes into play, it minimizes the true impact that we're having, and I think politics aside, is duty and is honor and the things that you just spoke of, man. And so I appreciate really you really locking in on that and showing gratitude, and that's why I wanted to have you come on in a real way to give honor to Corporate Page.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that we don't forget what the great state of Nebraska and the great city of Omaha is doing for this fallen. They are, in a few minutes, they will be lining up the procession and receiving a hero. Receiving a hero. And this is where our heroes are born and bred, in hometown USA.
That's right.
In hometown USA. These American sons and daughters aren't found in some, austere place. They're found in hometown USA.
Yeah, that's right.
They are the ones you see at the Walmarts and the Kmarts. They are the ones that are saying, I understand the charge, and I'm ready to move forward and execute.
That's right. And really for the Nebraskans, and I think we're going to do it in a Cornhusker way, people will show up and support, and we support our military. And so that's one thing that's really awesome about this great state of Nebraska, is that we show up and often we show out.
Yes.
And we just got to do a little work on the football team, but I want to just break it a little bit.
I didn't want to say nothing about the Georgia Bulldogs, but we're rolling. But
Yeah, we'll break it a little bit, but hopefully we're going to be able to get back on course. But we do support our own, and so there again, thank you, man. I thank you again for taking the time, and most of all, thank you for your 35 years of service, you and your beautiful wife.
Yeah,
because I understand she retired as well.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, she retired as well, and we want to thank you guys.
Yeah.
You know, whether you don a uniform or not,
Yeah.
you still are a value-added part to the success of our armed forces. If we do not have good citizens standing in the back, ensuring that our armed forces are provided all the necessary things they need, we would have a weak armed forces. And so to you all, we say thank you. One team, one fight, and if we keep getting after it together, then nobody can embark on our soil and disrupt our way of life.
That's the hope.
Thank you so much.
Hey, you guys, that's all for this episode of Heartland Focus. Make today the beginning of your best year yet. Do what it takes to reach out, show love, and do your dance to your beat. Don't let nobody tell you how to move and groove. I'm your host, Tim Clark. Until next time, take the time to be good to yourself. It makes it so much easier to be good to others. I'm out.